Welcome everybody to the Positive Impact Podcast, where we talk about all topics related to the game I love. Today's guest that we have on this special skill development session of Positive Impact Podcast, we have Denilius King from Utica, New York, from DKBA, Denilius King Basketball Academy. We have JJ Harvey from Albany, New York, who runs the 518 chapter of DKBA. And then we have Chris Thomas out of Indianapolis, Indiana, that runs 100% Hoops. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you
for having me.
No doubt about it. So, obviously I know all of you guys pretty well and know the work that you guys put in and everything. But why don't we go around and why don't we introduce yourself to everybody, tell them a little bit about yourself and why you got into this whole skill development, genre. D, why don't you start?
I've been doing skill development and performance training for about 15 years. I was introduced to training by a mentor of mine, Keith Rhodes, and I really just wanted to help people. I started with a young lady named Brianna Kiesel, who went on to go to the WNBA and, just really been working primarily in New York State, upstate New York region ever since.
All right, JJ?
Yeah, so to keep it short, I was a roommate with Denilius King. So, I over at St. College. But prior to that, I've had hopes and dreams of playing at a high level and doing something basketball related. And, when my body kind of gave on me, I kind of ran into Denilius, who was doing a lot of skill and development training in the area, and I was kind of enamored with it. So, I thought this would be a, real good way to impact, children and do the same thing that I love to do. So I kind of, he was in my ear about it and wasn't as confident as he was, but he pushed me for about a year or two, and I ended up started going up to his classes in Utica almost every weekend at that time, just taking notes. He told me to come up, and, once I got more comfortable with holding my own classes, that's how it kind of started for me.
This is Christopher Thomas. I go by CT. So, but my start was kind of adversity created an opportunity. I had a daughter born with spina bifida in 1998, and at that time I'd been working for Ernst & Young in accounting and doing just playing basketball in leagues, whatnot. But as soon as my daughter was born, she was intensive care. She was prematurely birthed at 31 and a half weeks, 500 grams. So it created a situation. My wife at the time had to quit her work to be at the hospital full time. And then it created obviously a financial need. So I did basketball on the side of my accounting just to make gas money, just to, try to get some bills paid and knock down some of that insurance costs. And then it just somewhat turned into a little bit of therapy, being around, your daughter's in an incubator and you can't touch her and feel helpless as a parent. Basketball training turned into, it's my passion, but it's therapy to get me outside of the NICU for a couple hours and then come back with the right mindset of appreciation that I can at least be with her and go through that process. But I've been doing this is 21 years, and it's been a good ride. It's been fortunate to work with all levels. I started with a 10 and a 12-year-old, and that's my passion for basketball training, is just to help middle schoolers, junior high kids get better at skill work, better at work ethic, and better at just being athletes. So what I noticed early on was you had some kids that were super athletes, but not fundamental. And you had some kids that are super fundamental, non-athletic. So I tried to create a program to address all kinds. So that's why I came up with 100% hoops, not 10% hoops.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit, you talked about how your basketball came out of your adverse situation. So some guys, I'm sure you guys know as well as I do with this training thing, a lot of people do the trainings now for likes, for popularity, you know what I mean? Like talk about, what I'm saying? So, there's some really good trainers out there. And then, to me, there's some commercial trainers out there. You understand what I'm saying? So D, talk about how what goes into developing your program for your student athletes.
So my program is kind of changed over the years. I obviously started just wanting to help players with basketball skills. Then, similar to CT, we started to see that most needed to become a better athlete. Some needed help moving, running. Some needed help with flexibility. And so we just kind of try to address them being better athletes with the focus of skill. So we're working primarily with basketball players. As probably the last 5 years, I would say, maybe 7 years, I started to work with younger kids as early as 4, teaching intro to basketball. And prior to that, I put a ball in my son's hand at 6 months old. And so over the last probably 7 years, I started to think 99.9% of the people that I'm working with are going to do something other than basketball for the rest of their life or for a good portion of their life. What can I give them to stay with them forever? And I said life skills. So I said, okay, how can I teach life skills through basketball? So I start teaching lessons. I start trying to relate what we're doing in a 10-meter drill, how that could help you become a better person. And so that's what we've been doing, teaching life skills through basketball. We stopped really training for basketball. We training for life. And so the curriculum now is just, can we create something that's going to directly have carryover with basketball, or can we help you to get better through life? And that's where we're at.
Well said, well said. So JJ, when a kid first starts to work with you for the first time, what are you assessing from that kid? That you've never worked with them, you don't know what their skill level is at. Someone could come into your gym already with good skills. Some could come in like Danelia said with no skills and got to start from scratch. So how do you assess the kid when you first start working with them?
Well, in the beginning, I used to do what we call like a vision board. Like, I never told Denise about this, but I used to try to find out, how serious were you about it? Like, it wasn't really up to your skills, where you were now versus where you're going to be. It was more, are you going to be dedicated to this, or are you just going to be one of these kids that, I heard about you, let me try this, didn't like it, I'm gone, right? So I used to tell these kids, in our first workout, we're not going to work out till I see your vision board. I wanted to see what your goals were as far as basketball and as far as life, what Denise is talking about. And don't come back until I see that, right? You can't book another workout with me until I see, your vision board. And because I want to see the goals that you have, and we're going to hold you to these goals every time you come to my workout, right? So, and I had, the first time I started that, I definitely struggled with attendance, but I felt good with the kids that did follow up, and parents are really excited with that stuff, that were serious. They thought it was a good idea. I kind of got away from that, the more clients I've gotten and, things of that nature. But as far as my assessment goes, it was more like, are you dedicated? Is this something you really want? Or are your parents here pushing you to do this? This should not be your parents' goal. This shouldn't be somebody else's goal. This should be something that, you wake up every day and want to attack every day, want to get better every day. You know what I'm saying? So as long as I had that, I was willing to deal with the kid that, whatever, if his skill level was low or high, I was going to be in the gym with you. So that was kind of my thing going in the beginning. And now that I'm talking about it, I probably should get back to something similar to that. But that's my main thing, trying to figure out, how bad do you want this? And I will help you remind the kid of the goal so we can always go forward no matter how hard it gets.
CT, when you go into a workout, right? Let's say if you got 3 15-year-olds coming in, or if you got 3 9-year-olds coming in, or you got 3 college guys coming in, how do you build the workout? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to do this first, I'm going to do this, and then how do you build the workout from start to finish?
Yeah, so the beauty of basketball is it's basic. So I started my program on the foundation of fundamental skill development and then functional movement. And then learned neck up training, like the psychology of building an elite athlete or what have you. So theoretically, you could have a 9, 13, 15, 17-year-old group, and everybody just works at their own level. And the only separation is natural ability, athletic ability, and then mindset. But the workout would be the same because it's all fundamental based. Got to work on ball handling and dribbling. Got to do shooting, of course, which everybody does. Got to work on defense, post defense, perimeter defense, off the ball, on the ball. Got to work on rebounding, the skill of the block out position before possession. But then the workouts go as, the frequency of the athletes. So some kids are in it and they'll come 5 days a week if their parents can stand it. And then some kids only come once every other blue moon. Mm-hmm. And so, if I got a kid that comes 5 days a week and a kid that comes every blue moon and they end up in the same grouping, same workout, the push is still the same. We got to get better at, and it's fundamental skills. You got to get better at lunging and squatting, functional fitness for basketball. You got to present a case where your mindset is positive and open, like a growth mindset to learning a new skill or maintaining a skill learned. And so, my focus has always been, we're going to attack this workout, but it has to apply to what these kids actually, their playing environment. So we can do all one-on-one moves, but most of the kids I get, high school and younger, are role players for their programs. And then in school, they play a system, and then they get on whatever tier AAU program, and it's free fall ball. So it's just, the workouts are determined by, the approximate, what's next month and what's 6 months from now. How'd you do this season? What do you want to do next season? Mm-hmm. So it's never cookie cut. There's always a basic format until the kids show up, and then it changes.
Right. So I definitely want to throw this question out to all three of you, because I think sometimes this is the biggest thing. So, you talked about frequency of kids showing up. Obviously, the more that you show up, the more that you practice, the better off you'll be. JJ, I'm going to start with you first. How do you figure out, because all you guys are in different areas of the country, how do you figure out how much you charge your clients? Because that might be a big deal. Like, what I'm saying is how often I can come is whether or not I can afford to send my child this much. So how do you figure that out? How do you balance? Because you do got to be compensated for your time as well, because it is your time. How do you balance being compensated for your time, but making it affordable for student athletes and parents?
Well, for me, it's been this is where you come in, Terrell Dozier. You know what I'm saying? So like if everybody knows my little story, I've been working with Danilius, and Danilius introduced me to you, where you were doing some of the training, and you were talking about what's really important here, right? And because if you have a good network of people with you, you can sacrifice a little for the student athlete, what have you. And that's probably the most important thing. So it's somewhat here for me, walking on faith. I leave a baseline, charge for my individual workouts. But when it comes to some kids who can't afford it, and you want to, if you still want to work with this kid, I'm always willing to talk numbers and things of that nature. At the same time, learning from Danilius, it's good to do a lot of pro bono stuff with the group workouts in the area, just to get your name out there and things of that nature. So it's definitely for me a sliding scale, especially with the position I'm in. If you get a kid who deserves a scholarship, who's going to enhance the program just because he or she is that good, right? And is working with you every time. Their mere presence and their awards and all that stuff, and they're giving you credit from since they were starting to work out, is a good thing. That'll help you bring in more clients. So it all kind of works out for me. It's one of the things for me that I don't focus on. I don't depend on basketball training to bring in income. It's just bonus stuff for me. So I kind of work outside to make sure that I'm able to do that. But I do have a baseline rate, and not that I'm super flexible, but I'm not irrational either with for people that are in this situation.
Absolutely. D?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm taking notes. I'm trying to learn. So for me, it's a few different things. Number one, the first person I ever trained, I trained her for free, and we had an agreement. The young lady was special. I seen things in her. She didn't really know how to play the game, how to manipulate the game. She was a very, very hard worker. And so after I talked on the phone with her father, probably for about 20 minutes, at the end, he said, "How much you going to charge?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going to charge her." He said, "Well, what do you mean? It's free?" I said, "No, I don't have anybody that I'm training, and I want to get my name out there. And all I want you guys to do, if somebody comes around and asks you what you've been doing, you tell them the truth. And the way that you guys will pay me is you spread the word. Those people will come, I train them, and then, I won't train you." And we work like that. And I use that model to create scholarships, which for people who first would push my brand forward, and then later on, based on financial need. After that, I use something that one of my mentors told me a long time ago. And he said that anytime that you spend your time giving your skill set, your professional skills to someone, there needs to be a dynamic exchange. And it doesn't need to necessarily be money, but it needs to be something to where both are benefiting. And so I would use that, whether it's bartering or whatever, just learning from that. And then I would get into cost of living. You got to know where you're at. Okay, if you're in a area like Greenwich, Connecticut, obviously you can charge more than a place if you're living in Red Hook, Brooklyn, or Compton, or Arbor Hill, Albany area. In addition to that, expenses, right? So if you're paying for a gym, well, obviously you have to make enough money to pay for that gym, or you're going in debt. And I love the people that I train, but I love my family more. And I am not a non-for-profit.
Right.
Okay. And so I'm not going into debt to pay for your dream. We don't roll like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that, and then, I too am blessed to be able to do this and earn some discretionary income where I don't rely on, my basketball training to pay for bills, but it can supplement, some bills. And so I'm an educator, by day, working in an education opportunity program in New York State. And also I'm an adjunct professor. So where basketball will help supplement. So I have a price for my classes. For those that are not on scholarship, our kids will pay $20 for a 2-hour class. I kind of got that from my daughter goes to gymnastics, and they charge for an hour $16 per class. And I used to charge more, $30 here and there. And I went to Walmart one day and I said, there's a reason why these people in Walmart every day, 24 hours a day, they have some baseline pricing that beat everybody else. And I went to a $20 model, $10 per hour, and people, they like that. For my private lessons, I charge $50 per lesson, and I don't do many. So what I have people do is agree to 5 private lessons at a time if they want time with me, because it's 168 hours in a week. And if I'm going to give you one, I need to know that we're getting something out of it. So I don't do one-offs. I'd rather work on my garage, sit with my daughter or something for an hour. So if you're serious and I'm committed to this thing, I promised my mentor that I would, then I need to know that you are putting more of a commitment to your dream than I am. So let's commit to these 5 sessions. And what better way to show you committed than to put your money where your mouth is? That's how I do it.
Love it. Love it. CT?
Yeah, well, mine is different. So remember how I started my program was I had to make money on the side of a profession. So I was in accounting, then I had to morning before work, if I was in town, or at lunch, or definitely real quick after work or late night, I'd scurry and go train for a couple hours. And at that point, I charged $25 per kid, and kept those rates up until the point where I chose to leave the firm and dive into basketball training and development full time. And so that changed my standard. My accounting side kicked in saying, well, I value my time. I can't spend my whole day in a gym, love to, but I also have expenses. So I had to come up with a rate, and so I started with basically $1 a minute. We can train for 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes. It's $1 a minute. As I've got more kids in training, I would offer discounts based on how long they were training with me or who referred them, where'd they come from. Never did any free workouts because that business model for me didn't make sense based on how I started. Like I couldn't afford to scratch and sniff my training just to get people in the gym. Just like years ago, there were Eric Gordons and George Hills and the other Chris Thomases. They all paid. And it was one of those where I could use the model of they're so high profile high school athletes, they're going to bring teammates and cousins and other people from the community. And I was like, no, I can't give you a free workout, but what I can do is spend more time. So if we're scheduled for 75 minutes, we can go 90 minutes, 2 hours, if I have that time. But you can't take that time and give me a pat on the back and say, thanks, coach. That's just not good business. So over the years, being able to travel, doing skills academies with Nike, Jordan Brand, just everything I've been able to do. You get around to different markets and see, like, there's people in New York, California, individual workouts, they get $150, $200 individual workouts. This guy a couple years ago, when the booming, everybody turned into an NBA pre-draft trainer, and he was getting $17,000 a month from boys. And I'm like, okay, hold up. That's not my business model, is to work with elites only or work with just pros. But if that type of money is out there, and that's ridiculous to think that you can pay someone that much, and I got to look at your stats then. Your numbers better go up. You better not get hurt. You better have career type numbers and seasons if you're investing that much money into your service and craft. So I also look at it from the parent's point of view. This is truly an investment. Like, some parents treat it as, this is babysitting. Let me drop my kid off and let me go get what I'm doing with other siblings, or let me go get it in, whatever. So I wanted to set rates that it's costly. You know, I'm definitely not at the bottom of the market. It's costly enough for people to have to consider, okay, do I really want to train with this guy? Versus there's a guy down the street, charges $10 a workout, probably just as good as workout. Or you know, I got my boy who does it, he'll do it for free if I bring him some other clients, da da da. So, and I've tried to be fair with the rates and the pricing. But then as my demographic increased, it's like, okay, so does my value. So am I traveling to you? Does this incorporate, you know, plane travel, driving distance more than 3 hours? You know, you paying for the hotel? You know, if I'm required to go somewhere outside of the state of Indiana, I put a premium on that ticket, because it's like, that's not my home base. I'm not trying to move to X city, or, you know, not trying to create a satellite program anywhere else.
Right.
And so people come my way.
Right.
And if they come my way and agree to be here more than a weekend, I'll discount the rate for sure. That's what it's going to take to keep you here. But more importantly, it just me to stay here.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I can attest to all three of you with that. You know, obviously from, you know, when I did it, I kind of went with the, you know, as JJ said, I went with the model of, you know, knowing my demographic and you know, and you know, I didn't have to pay for a gym. I always had a school where the gym was my gym. You know what I mean? So there wasn't, you know, for me, there was no overhead. You know what I mean? And then being new to the area, I said, you know what, in order for you guys to come give me a try, I'm going to charge you $10, because it wasn't my main thing. You know what I mean? And like I said, the gym was free. The equipment was free. So it was like, you know, why charge a kid $50? You know what I mean? Because then I'm not doing it from my heart. But I'm sure if I had your situation, CT, then I got to think about it totally different. You know what I mean? But to the point where, you know, parents would come to me anyway and never just give me $10. They'd always give me more, because they knew what they were getting. So that was kind of who I was. But so, you know, when we talking about, you know, you made me laugh with the air quotes when you say pre-draft trainers, because I just feel like anybody feels like they can just wake up and be a trainer. You know what I mean? And then let's be honest, like, you know, we've all played basketball for a long time. Ain't really too many new drills that you're going to make up that's going to help a player. You know what I mean? It's about repetition. So that's what Kobe said, right? You do these basic moves a million times until you've mastered them. You know what I mean? There's no new drill that you can invent. So now you got cats that's throwing cones up in the air, doing a forward roll, then they got, you know what I mean? And somebody's videotaping it, and it's like, oh, shoot. But they get clients. They're getting clients.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me, right? Because I know all three of you, and I know all three of you's body of work. D, I'm going to start with you on this. How does that make you feel when you're doing it from the essence of things, right? And, you know, you have your, you know, the way that you like to do things, but you know this guy is out here getting what Chris was talking about, probably making 10 grand a month just doing gymnastics in a basketball workout.
Well, for me, I think you got to know who you are, and you got to know your reasons why you're doing stuff. I think it's always good to be inspired and learn from other people. Kevin Eastman, who I would say is really the father of a lot of this stuff. Not that he started it, but what he's done for us, grassroots skill development nationwide. He talks about learning from anyone, right? So I think all of that has value. I think you do kind of what works for you. I started this being, you know, really inspired by Gannon Baker. He was the first one that I seen really do this on a level to where he kind of made this a career, but actually show people how to do it too. Other people obviously been training. People have been training for forever, but he kind of did it and said, here's a model that you could follow, and was looking for other, you know, students and souls. And so I was really looking at the drills when I first got started. And then Drew Hanlon helped me to understand that it was about the skill. And so the skill is the thing that you want to learn. The drill is the platform in which you practice the skill. So the skill is the most important thing. So if you want to get better at shooting, right, you're going to work on certain skills or micro skills. And then what we do is how we get there, you know. So then I kind of understand. So when I first started, I was into the props. So Drew Hanlon really changed this whole idea for me. He said, whatever kind of workout that you do with props, cones, tennis balls, all this different stuff, you should be able to do the same workout to the same effectiveness without it, because in the game, there are none of those things. And once he told me that, I was like, wow. And I said, well, then how you get, you know, where do you get your inspiration for your judge? You got some really unique stuff. He said, I watched film, I watched the game. And so what he was saying to me is the goal is to get better. So if you see something in the game that you want to do, then you want to help players to be able to do. That's always the focus. It's not about how good it looks training and tennis balls, you know, flips and all of that. Now, I don't subscribe to any of that now. The game is simple. The game is basic, like CT says. So I actually have reverted back to very little props. My innovation now is mentally, how can I get you to think differently? And how can we use stuff that's on the court, the ball and people, like, you know, and lines on the court, space on the court, stuff like that. That's where a lot of my innovation comes from now. So I don't really say anything bad about those people who do that, because I know what it is. You have to make a decision. And to me, I liken it to Jay-Z, you know, saying something about, I used to rap like Common Sense, but I did 5 mil and I ain't rap like Common Sense. Because if you want to make money, then you got to do some things that people kind of like, the stuff that's attractive. How do you find a balance between that and staying true to the essence? You know, it just depends. So again, I think it's different. If you're training full time and you're not training pros, then you got to do some young players, middle school, high school, they want to see a new drill every time they come to you. They don't want to do defense, so nobody's going to pay you to do defense. They want ball handling, shooting, and offensive moves and travel step backs. And so how do you figure that out? You know, it depends on what you want. So I see it, but I am more focused now for what players want. And if players do want that, I'm at the point now where I say, yeah, that's not what we do, Chief. You got to go over there for the circus.
Right. CT, how you feel about that?
Well, it's without bad mouthing the industry, because it's been good for my livelihood. But I've always, and anybody who's trained with me from to this day, Gary Harris came at 8-year-old, big head, big foot, big hand kid. I went to Purdue with his mom and dad before he was even an inkling in their eyes. So I've known them and him for a long time. We still do the same type of drills. He's 6 years into the NBA now. We did the same type of drills through middle school, through high school, through college, in between college, off seasons in the NBA. They finally made the playoffs last year. Our routine has not changed in about 20 years. And it's for a reason, because fundamentals are fundamentals. And, you know, if Nike were smarter back then, they would have opened up Jordan's training and Kobe's training and Durant and LeBron, just to give the world a view of what these guys actually work on. Like I can remember being in Greece with Kobe, and we get to the gym, of course, and the dude just did pivoting for 45 minutes. Didn't take any shots. Just worked on forward pivot, other direction, forward pivot. Had a ball, had a rim, wide open court, forward pivot, 45 minutes. And people, all they want to see about Kobe is, you know, his offense and the ooh-ahs. And so that's where the training world has become sexy because you got so many athletes that want the ooh-ahs. They want the fast food restaurant version of development. I'm more of the 7-course meal. Like you got to spend time. And a lot of people that come my way, I lose probably more people than I gain or retain because people now, they just don't like to work this hard. And I'm dead set on, you can be the best shooter in the world. If you run out of gas, you can't play. You know what I'm saying? Like James Harden's incredible. I think he's flawed because he's all offense, but he never gets tired. So it's like you can't stop a dude that doesn't get tired. And then when he's like that, like Gilbert Arenas used to be like that. Like, okay, how you want it? So, so basketball, training wise, I won't. There's people that gimmicks and tricks and make it sexy and give what the players want instead of what they need. And goo guys for you, that's how you make it. I don't believe in that because it's gotta be sustainable and scalable. And I can't fly across the country and have a bag full of gear, equipment just to run a workout. So if I don't have bands and a basketball, and that's all I need. We just need space and time. And your intent on, okay, let me show you some really basic lunge squat methodology without ball in hand. Let's get real good at these movement patterns. Then let's put a ball in hand and show you how you just improved your one-dribble pull-up. Some basic stuff but it's got to be sustainable. It's got to be scalable, and then it's got to be at all levels. Like I said, I should be able to have a 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 25-year-old in the same workout, and it's the same drills, just everybody's got their own level and ability to go through fundamentals and function.
Absolutely. JJ?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what both of those guys said, it's for me, I think you can learn from anybody and everybody. So, I guess for me, like you get a lot of these kids that come and they're quick to complain about a coach. They're not doing it the way I thought you should do it, and this, and the third. And, I look at the training field the same way. It's like I relate back to my experience. I've had bad coaches. I've had good coaches. But you can't tell me that all the coaches that I've ever had, I didn't learn something from. Like all those coaches that I've ever had, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. How can I incorporate that into my game or my psyche or whatever, right? It's never been something where I didn't learn nothing from this guy, right? If this is a guy who's spending time, his craft, coaching, training, whatever have you, then there's something to learn, and there's a way to modify it to make it fit your style. So, I never looked at those guys. I thought, I seen, like you're talking about, I seen a lot of the guys with a bunch of cones and all this equipment and blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at them like, yo, that's a good idea. How can I do that without the equipment? How can I hone that skill in where I can get these kids to do and isolate that skill? So I've never looked at them and said, oh, these guys are just more power to them. They're attracting kids because they got this studio and all this stuff with the equipment and stuff. That's great. I look at that. I remember when I first started, and the big thing was the shooting machine. A lot of kids used to ask, you have the shooting machine. I'm like, I got a shooting machine, right? And you had people like, well, this train's got the shooting machine. I said, listen, we'll get shots up, especially if we got 2 or 3 guys. We get a lot of shots up, probably more than the shooting machine, but it's up to you. We'll get it done. I can do it, right? So, it's not, shooting machine isn't the end all be all, and I don't like putting up and taking that thing down. Shout outs to Denilius King. First time I saw a shooting machine, it was a great thing. I've been on a shooting machine, and it does work. But I'm not like CT said. I'm not carrying that thing and pulling it out every time, right? So I'm definitely big on the fundamentals, like CT said. The one story I'll never forget. I hear it on TV. And Denilius King, I think, told this story once to the class that I was at, and it was about Kobe Bryant, where there was at the Olympics, and the writer came there to go watch him for his blackout workout, expecting to see, you know, him doing all these crazy stuff until he passes out. And for like that first 2 or 3 hours, he was just doing the fundamentals and nothing, just a lot of footwork stuff and simple stuff. And, you know, the reporter asked him, he was like, that's the workout? And this is the workout that my 5-year-old does, you know, my 6-year-old does. And he said all he was doing is pretty much the fundamentals. And he said, Kobe replied to him, he said, well, that's why I'm great. I never get bored with the fundamentals. That's stuck, right? So it's like, if, you know, and I tell that story to a lot of my clients who, you know, some of them, again, like you said, they're coming in expecting a new drill, a new something every time they come to see you. And, you know, you put that story on them, they start thinking about, well, I got to just do, when I'm here, I got to get something out of it, right? I got to get something out of it. And that's, I guess, your job as a trainer, to keep these guys headed forward from a mental standpoint, right? From a mental standpoint, what's important, right? So, you know, that's my thing with the training. I think you can learn from everybody, no knock on any of these guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, I learn from everybody, and I'll tell you to your face, I'll say one of your drills, and I can either make it better, make it worse, whatever. I mean, as long as, in my opinion, I think the trick with all of that is, you know, if you can come up with some competitive drills, that's kind of like what motivates them a little bit more too, whether they're competing against themselves or, you know, other clients that are there. So I try to focus on how can I make a drill competitive and fair, and they can take that back to their own, you know, workouts when they're not with me.
Dozier, the other thing that I wanted to add was I started to move towards this, and I got this from Franklin Davis, who spent time in the military. I started to move towards this thing of mastery, using this one Bruce Lee quote. And it says, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And once I started to use that, I think that helped the young people to understand, like, if you do something 10,000 times, you're going to be great at that. There are very few basketball players that are amazing at everything. But if you can get a person who is better than 90% of the population at one skill, they're probably going to play. So we started to focus on mastery, and we got away from the different new stuff, you know, all the time. So kudos to you fellas for that.
So let me hit y'all with some quick hitters real quick. CT, favorite drill?
Lunge squat.
Lunge squat. JJ, favorite drill?
Favorite drill? Whew. A lot of them, those.
Gotta give me one.
I got this right now. I got this give and go drill. It's hard to explain, but it's a give and go drill. It usually, if I got 4 or 5 people, it works perfectly. So it's a give and go drill while I'm passing the ball. So what happens is I get the ball and I give up the ball as soon as I get it. I put it at a place where they got to run all the time, right? So it forces you to make a hard cut. And, you know, I tell them they only got to do it 4 times, but by that 3rd or 4th time, you know, they're wheezing. If they miss that layup, because they're tired, then they got to do all 4 of those layups again. We got to go over. Yeah, so it kind of focuses on just making layups and stuff like that. And I'll put different layups on. I call it my V drill.
Okay. D?
For skill-wise, form shooting is really just my favorite. I think it's simple, it's the most basic in essence, but I think it's important. If you can't shoot, you don't have a chance really in this day and age. And then for movement, right now, something I took from Brian Matthews, it's this isometric split leg squat hold. Just sitting in that squatted position, one leg in front, one behind, holding for a minute or more. That is my favorite. I am in love with that right now.
Shout out to Brian Matthews, accelerated athlete. CT, if you could work out with one guy in the NBA right now,
Gary Harris.
always Gary Harris? Always Gary Harris.
Just only because I'm a love and loyalty dude.
Yeah.
I've been with him, been part of his life, he's been part of mine since he was 8 years old, and his family before that. And so in this day and age, for an athlete to go from a youth and then start to get some success and bubble and then get to the elite, coming out of high school, get to a program like a Michigan State, and be afforded the opportunity to leave early and be pro, and I still get to be the one helping him develop, maintain, attain, retain a certain level of skill. I've worked with, thankfully, Kobe and Durant and LeBron doing their tours internationally, and that's cool and that's great, but I don't know them since they were nothings.
Yeah.
Like I know this dude.
What can Gary get better at?
Everything. He's still playing the game. The game's still evolving. It used to be you just played basketball both ends. And now in the NBA, it's sexy to be a two-way player. Like people actually get paid more if they can play some defense. Yeah. And, he's always been that type. Like he just he'll lock you up, and then he'll give it to you on offense just the same, or he'll pass the ball, make the basketball play. So, yeah, I mean, he's in the NBA and he's not a superstar. So he can get better at everything. Just like very few of these guys can get much better. Like Steph Curry can't, unless he's gonna start shooting half-court shots. Okay, you can't get that much better at shooting from that distance. Right. But it's amazing at that level to see the level of ability of these guys with the basketball.
Absolutely. DK, you get a phone call from Kevin Durant. Listen, I'm giving you 30 minutes. I'm giving you 30 minutes. What are you doing with him for 30 minutes?
Whatever he wants. He's Kevin Durant. I'm rebounding. I'm challenging him. I bet you can't do this many in a row all net and make the rebound land where you want it to land.
Good one. Good one. Oh my God. JJ, same question. Give me an NBA player. You got a half an hour with that NBA player. What are you working
on? Big men. I don't care. I'm just one of those guys where I'm kind of upset with big men in the NBA right now. The art of having post moves and stuff like that is gone, right? It's really bad. So, you got these athletic big men who can guard out there and stuff like that. These guys have no moves, and they're just using most of their athleticism to score the basketball. So I would like to bring that back and, just see some more efficient basketball where we can get some easy buckets versus relying on the volume of three-pointers playing the numbers. So, give me a big man, 2 or 3, and get some skills and get some good, decent shots up there in the post, some high-efficient shots.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap this thing up right now, gentlemen. One piece of advice for any player wanting to be good.
Hard work pays.
Say that again?
Hard work pays.
Hard work pays. DK, what you got for me?
You can only grow through suffering.
Only go through suffering. JJ?
Working hard will get you to this point. Working smart takes you to the next level. You got to study the game and separate yourself. You got a lot of kids that work hard, and a lot of those kids think that that's enough. And I think you got to, if you're working hard, you're dedicated to this, and you want to achieve your goals, you got to start thinking this thing as well. So you got to put in the time studying and trying to figure out this craft.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, listen, fellas, I definitely appreciate y'all, and this knowledge that you guys are dropping today is why I feel like you guys are great at what you do. I appreciate y'all coming on here today and dropping these jewels for these kids and these parents, and we will be in touch in the future. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, fellas. Thank you, CT. Thank you,
Thank you all.
JJ. Thank you, Doja.
Appreciate it. This was fun.
Thank you for having me, Doze. You already know.
Yes, sir.
All my best, fellas. All my best.
All right.